Could innocence really put children in danger because of skin color? That question raced through Jada's mind as she and Jayden played in the sunny front yard, unaware that their lives were about to change in a single moment. Ellen Whitman, their neighbor, stormed outside, clutching her phone like it was a weapon. Her eyes blazed with anger and fear, and she began shouting about suspicious children in her yard. The twins froze, their laughter dying in their throats, hearts pounding from a deep, unfair panic. Jada knew immediately who Ellen thought they were, trouble, just for being black. Jayden's grip tightened on the ball as sirens wailed in the distance. Officer Daniel Reed's police car screeched to a halt at the curb, lights flashing, and Jada realized that nothing would be easy today. Mariah Harris, their mother, was inside preparing for an evening broadcast, her story about city corruption still fresh on everyone's minds, but Ellen didn't know that. The twins were judged in a single glance, and the situation spiraled faster than they could react. Comment, respect, if you believe in judging people by actions, not color, and don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories. The police car's tires screeched on the pavement, cutting through the morning calm, and Jada's mind raced with fear and confusion. Jayden clutched her hand tightly, their small fingers entwined like anchors in a storm, as Officer Daniel Reed stepped out, towering and rigid, eyes scanning the yard like they were dangerous territory. Ellen Whitman's voice trembled with alarm as she pointed at the twins, her accusations spilling out in a torrent of panic and prejudice. Mariah Harris appeared in the doorway, her calm authority masking the fury boiling inside her, her heart hammering for her children's safety. She took a slow, measured breath and stepped forward, speaking with quiet, unwavering strength, trying to de-escalate the situation, but Officer Reed barely registered her words, his assumptions about the children cemented before any explanation could reach him. Jada swallowed hard, refusing to cry, and spoke up, her voice trembling but steady. "We didn't do anything, sir. We were just playing." Jayden echoed her sentiment, eyes wide but unflinching, knowing their mother's presence was a shield against injustice, yet fearing the weight of prejudice. Ellen Whitman's face twisted in disbelief, the panic in her expression clashing with the news she had just watched. The memory of Mariah Harris on TV, strong, intelligent, respected, slowly dawning on her. Officer Reed, still suspicious, started to move toward the twins, his hand hovering near his belt, ready for authority, blind to the truth of their innocence. Mariah, sensing the tension reaching a critical point, raised her voice with commanding clarity, reminding everyone of her presence, her reputation, her unshakable dignity, and the neighbors' whispers spread through the block like wildfire. The twins stood frozen yet fearless, realizing that courage could be measured in words, not only in action, and that the world's prejudice might be challenged if truth and calm resolve were wielded like shields. Every second felt like an eternity as the officer and the neighbor finally hesitated, the twins' bravery slowly seeping into the moment, creating cracks in the walls of misjudgment. Jada's heart raced, but a spark of confidence ignited within her, knowing that standing strong and speaking the truth, even when underestimated, could change the course of events, and Jayden mirrored her strength, silently vowing to protect their innocence no matter what. The tension lingered, but a silent understanding began to form. Perception could be challenged, assumptions could be questioned, and the courage of two children could force adults to confront their biases. Comment, respect, if you believe courage and truth can overcome prejudice, and subscribe for more gripping stories. The moment stretched painfully, the neighborhood holding its breath as Officer Daniel Reed's gaze swept over Jada and Jayden, suspicion etched into every line of his face, his mind racing with assumptions that had no basis in reality. Jada straightened, chin lifted, refusing to shrink under his scrutiny, while Jayden's eyes flickered between his sister and the officer, searching for a way to protect them both. Mariah Harris stepped fully onto the porch, her calm but commanding presence like a shield around her children, her hands steady, her voice firm as she said, "My children are not criminals, and I expect respect in my own home." Ellen Whitman stumbled back slightly, the weight of her own prejudice beginning to clash with the image of the mother she had seen on television, a leader, a woman of dignity and intelligence. Officer Reed's fingers twitched near his belt, instinct and bias colliding, but the sight of Mariah's unwavering stance caused the tension to fracture slightly, creating a momentary pause that felt like an eternity. Jada's voice cut through the air, clear and deliberate. "Sir, we didn't do anything wrong." Please check before judging us. Jayden echoed her words, softer but no less firm, his small hand finding hers for courage. The silence that followed was thick with anticipation, the neighborhood watching, the air tense with unresolved fear and unspoken questions about justice and prejudice. Officer Reed's eyes narrowed, but slowly the realization began to seep in. These children, these twins, were no threat, yet his assumptions had nearly escalated the situation beyond control. Mariah stepped closer, her tone unwavering, educating, commanding, yet protective, reminding everyone present that dignity, respect, and truth should never be overshadowed by fear or racial bias. Ellen Whitman's face paled, the stark contrast between her fear-driven actions and the reality in front of her pressing heavily on her conscience. Jada and Jayden's bravery, their refusal to cower, began to shift the energy in the air, forcing adults to confront their judgments, to rethink their hasty conclusions, and to witness firsthand how courage and integrity could challenge ingrained prejudice. The neighborhood murmured quietly, the lesson sinking in: power often comes not from authority, but from resilience and truth, and even the youngest among us can inspire accountability and reflection. As Officer Reed slowly withdrew, a grudging respect entered his eyes, acknowledging silently that the children had held their ground without panic, without fear, and with the poise of someone far older than their years. Mariah smiled faintly, pride mingled with relief, knowing that her children had not only protected themselves, but also taught a subtle but profound lesson in dignity and courage that day. Jada and Jayden exchanged a glance, hearts pounding yet proud, understanding that standing tall against prejudice, even when underestimated, could create ripples that forced change and awakened conscience in others. Every neighbor, every observer had seen the undeniable truth. Innocence and bravery could not be mistaken for guilt, and justice was often upheld by those willing to speak it, even in the smallest voices. Comment, respect, if you believe bravery and truth can confront prejudice, and subscribe for more empowering stories. The air was heavy with tension, neighbors peeking from behind curtains, whispers of fear and curiosity mixing with the late afternoon sunlight that streamed across the quiet street. The twins stood firm on the porch, their small frames trembling with adrenaline, yet radiating courage far beyond their years. Mariah's eyes scanned the scene, sharp and unwavering, knowing that any wrong move could escalate things dangerously. Officer Reed had his hand near his belt, the muscle memory of authority urging him to act, but something in the sight of the twins' steady gaze made him hesitate. Every second stretched unbearably long, the weight of assumptions and fear pressing down on him, while the neighborhood collectively held its breath. Ellen Whitman's face betrayed a mix of guilt and disbelief as the realization of her hasty, racially biased call began to sink in, her hands tightening around the railing of her porch. The children's bravery was palpable, their unity unshakable, and it began to challenge the very foundations of prejudice that had shaped the adults' instincts. Mariah stepped forward, her voice calm yet commanding, reminding everyone that dignity, patience, and reason could dismantle fear faster than force ever could. She highlighted, subtly but powerfully, that assumptions based on skin color or circumstance were dangerous, and that courage and truth could illuminate justice even in the darkest moments. The twins exchanged a glance, understanding that this confrontation was bigger than themselves. It was a moment of teaching, a lesson to the community about fairness, awareness, and respect. Officer Reed's hands lowered slowly, his chest rising and falling as he battled the shock of being confronted with his own bias and the undeniable integrity of those he had nearly accused unjustly. Ellen Whitman stumbled back, a silent apology lingering in her eyes as the children's composure shone brighter than any fear. The street seemed to exhale collectively as the tension dissolved, leaving an indelible mark on everyone who witnessed it. Mariah pulled her children close, whispering encouragement, pride shining in her eyes as the twins realized they had not only protected themselves, but had changed perspectives in an instant. The lesson of that day was clear: justice, respect, and courage were not determined by age, power, or race, but by the strength to stand tall against prejudice and speak truth when it mattered most. The neighborhood had seen it all unfold, and a new understanding began to ripple through the community, a reminder that bravery could rewrite assumptions and fear could be confronted with poise, integrity, and unity. The sunlight glinted off windows and polished railings, illuminating the faces of those who had watched silently, leaving a lasting impression that even the smallest, most underestimated voices could demand attention, inspire change, and hold people accountable. As the family stepped back inside, the energy on the street had shifted. Respect had been earned, lessons taught, and a quiet hope seeded. The twins had grown in their own eyes, the adults had learned humility, and the community had witnessed that courage could transform fear into reflection, prejudice into awareness, and panic into understanding. In that fleeting but unforgettable moment, it became evident that the power of standing firm in truth was unstoppable, and the world could always benefit from young hearts daring to speak, act, and teach. Comment, respect, if you believe courage can challenge prejudice, and subscribe to witness more stories that inspire change and honor truth.